Hey guys, Solomon here. I thought I should just come on here and give a little update. I know it's been a long time since I last talked to you guys about the election. The last video I made about the election was like 5 months ago, and this was right after Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz to be her vice presidential running mate. And at the time of filming the video, I was very hopeful. As you can see in my video, I'm joyful. I'm excited. I'm excited for the campaign to come. And what has transpired has been basically worst case scenario. Something that I've been dreading for years. And it's been a lot to process all at once, and it's been happening so quickly that I don't really even know how to go about talking about it because there's just so much to talk about. So this video is just a rant. It's just a rant. And I gotta take it back to all the way to 2016 because that's when I started getting involved in politics. That's when I started getting interested. That's when I kind of opened my eyes to the way that this government and this world works. Bernie Sanders and the way he talked about things put into perspective for me the reality of what we're facing. What you're taught in school versus what it really is. What you're taught in school is all these American values, liberty, justice for all, equality. The arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. We live in a democracy, where we're a constitutional republic where the power is with the people, and it's the people ultimately that make the call, right? We have separations of powers, and this is how it's supposed to work. But the reality that he awakened me to was that there are powerful forces out there in private industry, in the military industrial complex, in the intelligence agencies that, that pull the strings, that there are puppet masters, that behind the scenes, they buy politicians. They control government policy. They manufacture consent. And they make the government work for them, a small group of individuals, instead of for everybody. And, Bernie Sanders has said a million times, let's work for a government that works for all of us, not just a few of us. That became a guiding principle for me in my mind. And it became a wake-up call, a reality check. And it was so obvious to me what needed to be done when I realized that. When I realized that the fundamental problem is money in politics and these oligarchs and these powerful forces, I knew what he was saying was the only real path, which was that we have to do public funding of elections. We have to overturn the Supreme Court decision that made money equivalent to speech, which gave billionaires unlimited access to just dump unlimited money into the political process through super PACs and stuff like that. And not only that, but that's the reason why we don't have all of the things that we should have. That's the reason why we don't have healthcare, Medicare for all. That's the reason why everybody's dissatisfied with the government because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. That's why there's environmental destruction. That's why every company on planet Earth is getting away with polluting and just dumping trash in the ocean and chemicals and waste. And that's the reason why the military is so overpowered and is so overfunded, and why there's wars in all these countries because we're fighting for the oil. All of the stuff. That's the fundamental reason, is that the hands of power, the mechanisms of power are not in the hands of the people, they're in the hands of these few people. And other people that were running in the primaries had no fucking idea. It was so clear, crystal clear to me, that there's one person that knows what's going on and can speak to the truth of it, and it just boggled my mind as a young man that people couldn't see it. they couldn't see the obvious truth right in front of their eyes. It's like, I was just a kid that just took his first civics class, and I could get this because I was fresh, you know, like I didn't have decades and decades of like history of all this stuff, and just like, you know, people telling me socialism is bad and communism and all this kind of stuff is the fucking bane of the earth, mark of the beast. Like, so that's why every day I was wearing Bernie buttons and all this kind of stuff to school, telling my fucking teachers they needed to vote for him, even though I lived in Wyoming. It wasn't going to make a fucking difference whether or not they voted for him in the primary or not. But back then, 2016, when he lost, that was the essential timeline. That's the timeline I want to live in, because I know I'm going way back here, but just stay with me for a second, because that was the only reasonable timeline for fixing these problems. That's why this was all over before it even began. That's why it was all over before it began, because in order to slow down climate change and cool the climate, we needed to mobilize industry. We needed to mobilize all of our resources to transform our energy system and create a bunch of new jobs, do a Green New Deal. We needed to transform our economy. We needed to tax the rich. We needed to, you know, strengthen labor rights and all of this stuff in order to get the climate under control, to get our economy under control, to get the corruption under control, all that stuff. The only reason that was possible was because it came by surprise. He came out of nowhere. Like, he tapped into something. He tapped into this energy of, like, people were hearing for the first time the truth. And, like, they were hearing, you know, what they needed to hear. That there was somebody fighting for them. So there was a movement behind him to try to get him, you know, to be the nominee, and then the DNC rigged it. He almost won, though. He almost won, but that was a mistake, that he didn't. That's where we went wrong. Is that there wasn't enough support, overwhelmingly. The movement wasn't big enough. It crested and it fizzled. And then the next time around, they were scared shitless. They knew what could, like, the powers that be knew the risks of allowing such a character to become popular. Even after Trump, like, so, like, when he almost won the second time as well, but they panicked. There was, like, real industry. There was articles, headlines, all sorts of stuff. I have to just watch. Hold up. Because there's, like, a cop or something. Some dude in a truck. Hold up. Sorry, I'm at, like, a weird wildlife area, so people just checking in on me. Anyway, he almost won the second time, right? So there was real panic from industries. There was all these headlines that were like, that, like, the oligarchs were scared, basically. They're like, oh shit, Bernie Sanders is really gonna win. And then what happened was that, you know, Obama made some phone calls. All of the moderates, you know, right-wing fucking Democrats dropped out of the race. They consolidated the votes. Joe Biden, everybody's least fucking favorite, last choice option, ended up winning the primary. And by a fucking miracle, he won the presidency against Trump because of COVID and all of this other stuff that was happening. And because people were sick of Trump. But it wasn't enough to fucking stave him off. Because Joe Biden didn't fix anything. His brain was melting out of his fucking face. Of course he wasn't going to fix everything. He wasn't like... We were set up for failure when he lost. When he lost the second time, I was so fucking depressed because I knew climate catastrophe was going to happen wasn't going to get slowed down. We were never going to get a Green New Deal. He wasn't going to run again. I mean, I kind of hoped he would, but like, there was no part of me that really believed that he was going to run again. And we weren't going to get a Green New Deal. We weren't going to revolutionize the economy. We weren't going to fix the corruption anytime soon. And then Joe Biden, in his hubris, in his pride, in his ego, decided to run again after winning, saying he was going to be a first-term president, or a one-term president, and then, oh, surprise, surprise, no. He got in the way. He became an authoritarian and a narcissistic piece of shit that wanted the glory and wanted all the power for himself. He thought he's the only one that could beat Trump again because he did it once. No, they didn't pick you. They just didn't pick Trump, right? And he went authoritarian and wouldn't allow a fucking primary process, completely ignored everybody running against him. And not only that, but after he was already selected and appointed and anointed, he drops out because he's having a terrible performance. And he was crashing and burning the whole thing, and last minute swaps out Harris to be in his place. Now we're back to Harris. Like I said, I was full of hope in that video, because it seemed to me like she was a decent option. Anything better than Biden was a decent option. And it seemed like in the week, 2 weeks, days, preceding her pick of Tim Walz, there was a lot of energy. There was, I watched speeches of them going around, like that first speech that they did together, like when, I think it was Pennsylvania, when Tim Walz came out. I rewatched that like 4 times because he was on fire. And they were hitting them from all angles, man. Like, they were calling them out, the Republicans and Trump and Vance, for being weird and for being freaks and for coming after your freedoms. They were reframing things in a good way. Like, Democrats are the ones that care about your freedom. They care about the freedom of speech. They want the doctors and you to be able to make your own decisions. We don't want the government to be in your fucking bedroom and in your doctor's office. That's good framing. But what they failed to do was run a real grassroots campaign, right? Like I said, it was appointment. And they didn't do the bread and butter economic issues. They didn't run on Medicare for all. They didn't have any bold policy choices, like any bold policy proposals that they ran on. They had like a couple of kind of good things, but then they were like, they're half measures. They don't go far enough. They don't fix anything, like at the root cause. And, that's not exciting. Like, you're running on, like Biden ran on a public option, basically. Because everybody during the primaries was like, maybe Medicare for all, because they were trying to imitate Bernie Sanders, because they knew it was in the zeitgeist that Democratic voters wanted fucking Medicare for all. And so does, other Republicans, too. It was in the zeitgeist, but then it got shifted to the right. And everybody fucking gave up on it. And the moment that Biden got elected, any healthcare plan just poof out the window. It's gone. And then after all of that, Harris, who ran and lied, she ran on Medicare for all once upon a time. But her plan was like, we're going to do it in like over 10 years. But even that got thrown out the fucking window. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, she shot herself in the foot by not doing any kind of any kind of proposal that would have like appealed to working class Americans. Like, only seemed to appeal to like, the donor class, if I have to say that. I mean, like, I don't know. There was a lot of things she did wrong. And also, she wouldn't differentiate herself from Biden. There was an interview, and she was asked, like, are you going to be different from Biden? And, like, what would you do differently? And she couldn't come up with a fucking answer, which is insane. It's insane. Like, I understand she's part of the administration, but you're allowed to have your own opinions, like freedom of speech. Like, like you can say the stuff you're not, the stuff that's in your head. I know you have ideas about how you would run things, but she was so cowardly, so timid. She wouldn't come out with anything that would go against Biden. She didn't want to make him look bad or something. Especially on Israel and Gaza, she was just as bloodthirsty as he was. She kept coming out and not acknowledging Israel's war crimes, while saying Israel's like one of our closest allies and we're going to stand behind them 100% of the time. And saying she wants a two-state solution and she wants good things for the Palestinians and stuff, but she won't acknowledge that it's a completely one-sided fucking situation, that there's a fucking genocide going on and they're the fucking perpetrators and we're the ones sending the fucking weapons and money. And she's like, we're going to just keep doing that 100%. And she wouldn't meet with the uncommitted movement at all. And they wouldn't let them fucking have a speaker. They wouldn't have a single Palestinian speak at the DNC convention. I think that hurt her. On election night, I was at an election watch party, and it was a bad night because I was with a bunch of vegans, some people from Pro Animal Future down in Denver. They had a few, ballot measures. So there was one to ban fur in Denver, and there was one to shut down Denver's lamb and sheep slaughterhouse. And then, Colorado statewide, there was one to ban hunting of bobcats, mountain lions, and all of them failed. And even ranked choice voting failed. And there was a measure out in California to try to ban factory farming, and it failed. Which fucking sucked. It sucked. But it was inspirational to be with those people, because, these were people that worked so fucking hard on this animal rights stuff this really is just the beginning of the animal rights movement, where we're just starting to get legislation on the ballot. This doesn't really typically happen. So of course it wasn't going to pass the first time. We're going to fail a bunch of times before we win. And so it was nice to hear the optimism and to be a part of this really cool community of politically active animal rights people. But then there was just this dark shadow over everything, which was, as we were watching the states roll in, one swing state after the other, just getting called for Trump, just trickling in the numbers, just the gap growing, not looking good. And we're all just kind of looking at each other what the fuck is happening right now? And I was wrong. I thought they were going to win. I thought Harris and Walz were going to win. Because I thought people would fucking know better. Yeah, they didn't run a good campaign and they only had 100 days, but goddamn, I thought they would do better. And don't get me wrong, he won the popular vote, but only by 1.5% or something. But still, we have sowed the seeds. We have made our own bed, and now we're sleeping in it. We have a criminal, a man who has a career of being a fraud, just the best con man ever to live, who's a federally, like a felon. He's been found guilty of crimes. He's been found guilty of fraud. He's been found guilty of doing a fucking hush money payment and, violating federal law. This is a man who was impeached twice. And did an insurrection. Who, sent a mob to the Capitol. Who refused to step away from power. Who did not leave calmly. Who did not do the peaceful transfer. And people voted for that guy. And so now, all of a sudden, there's all this resistance. And there's not even really. People are just, there's some protests. I was at a protest on the 5th. There was 50 protests in 50 states. I was in Colorado. I was in Denver. But what the fuck are we doing? I mean, like, we're standing around with fucking signs and we're yelling, you know, into the air, into the fucking void. About what? What the fuck is that gonna do? It's not doing anything. We missed our fucking opportunity like 10 years ago. We missed it. We missed our opportunity in 2016 to stop fascism, and now it's here knocking at our door, and people are fucking like, oh shit, like we had a chance, man. Like, we had a chance. And during the primaries, this was like what I was fucking screaming about. Because if Biden was going to be the fucking candidate, then all of these problems still existed. You know, like, all of these problems from like 2016 were still imminent in my mind. They were like, we need to get rid of the corruption. We need to do a massive overhaul of our infrastructure. We need to do a massive overhaul of our society. We need real fucking change. Right fucking now. And people forgot. That's why I was like, come on, Marianne Williamson, she's right here. Which was always a long shot, but goddamn, man. Like, we had our chance. And this is what we get. And I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I genuinely don't know what we're going to do. I'm not seeing, like, the resistance, right? Like I've already said, the Democrats, it was over before we began, because they're not a bunch of, it's not like a bunch of anarchists and, like, cool-ass, like, communists, like, punk rockers in Congress as the opposition. Dude, it's like a bunch of career politicians who are corrupt, who go along to get along, and sometimes vote with the Republicans and, you know, pass and approve their fucking Senate, you know, their the appointments, and just go along with it. They just go along with it. So there was never going to be resistance from Democrats. There was like, we're working with a class of people who are completely incompetent. Like, I want to make a video about lotocracy, governance by lottery, where, like, people just get picked at random to be government officials, like they used to do in ancient Athens. Because I think it would be better. Because literally, random people, random working class Americans would be better suited to be lawmakers than these power-hungry, narcissistic fucking idiots. Corrupt fucking goons who live in our government. And of course they weren't ever going to resist. They don't have the fucking fight in them. They wouldn't know a fucking dictatorship if it slapped them in the fucking face, because that's what's happening right now. So we're backsliding fast into authoritarianism. They're mass deporting people into, like, concentration camps as we speak. There's all these videos of construction sites empty. You know how fucking dark that is? You know how fucking dark that is? That every fucking construction site across the United States, you go and take a video of it, and there's no people left. They go take videos of the fucking fields of strawberries and fruits and stuff like that. Empty. Where are these people going? Like, what we don't know where they're going. Like, to Mexico, but in the meantime, like, how secretive are they being about these camps? Where are these camps? You know, they're talking about fucking sending people to El Salvador, American citizens to El Salvador in Guantanamo Bay. You got people, federal agents with guns, with no warrant, just waltzing in to apartment complexes without a warrant, without anything, just letting themselves in and just detaining U.S. citizens, Native Americans, hauling off documented or undocumented immigrants. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. This is straight up fascist dictatorship shit. Knock on your door. Who is it? It's the fucking fascists coming with guns to steal you away from your family. This is where we're at. And I'm losing hope fast, man. I'm losing hope really fucking fast. Because like I said, people have to be the one to stand up and fight for the rights. There has to be mass demonstrations in the street. There has to be Occupy Wall Street, but like 10,000 times larger. We have to occupy every fucking government building out there. But I don't see the energy, man. I don't have the energy for it. Everybody's depressed as fuck. Like, I went to a protest, but, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if any of that stuff would work. Because this isn't like the French Revolution, man. They've got all the guns, they've got all the power, they got laser fucking technology. I don't know what they got. Excuse me. And you can't just storm in with a fucking guillotine, because it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Like, we either have to organize an actual fucking revolution straight up, like the American Revolution, or we're cooked. I mean, we're cooked. We're like, or like, you know, the people with all the guns and all the power and all the money, they are gonna run shit. And we're gonna be like Argentina or like some other place that has to deal with a fucking dictator for a certain period of time until something happens. Until some other, you know, powerful person does a coup and decides they've had enough, and then we're living under a different type of dictatorship from a different person, and then we have fake elections. And people said, like, oh, we can take back the House, like we can slim the majorities in the House and the Senate and stuff in the special elections. And in Florida, there's a special election. Bro, you're counting on there being a fucking election that's fair in 2 years, when this election there was voter suppression and like people just throwing out ballots left and right and all this shit. You're expecting there to be a fair election the next time? In 2 years from now? Or in a year from now? Are you out of your fucking mind? It's happening now. It's happening right fucking now. Like, it's been like 2 weeks. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks. And look at what they've done. Completely unconstitutional shit. They're trying to take away birthright citizenship, a fucking cornerstone of American citizenship. It's in the fucking Constitution straight up, not even fucking up for interpretation, not even up for debate. And they're like, no, it's up for debate. We don't care. We have our own interpretation of the Constitution, and we disagree. You know, we disagree with the Constitution because, you know, we don't really like how these immigrants and brown people are like having kids here and they just get to be citizens. It's fucked up. Only white people should be citizens. Insane. Like, and here's the thing, guys. Like, there was no accountability. This is what happens when there's no accountability. When you have a guy who's a convicted felon, who does 0 jail time, who gets away with everything, who was impeached but wasn't removed. Twice. After doing an insurrection. They didn't do anything. There was no accountability. People should have been occupying the streets. They should have been out rioting after that. But it was just quiet. Everybody just accepted it. Because they gave up. People have given up. They're fucking tired. Or they're distracted. Or they don't care. Or they're not educated. Or whatever. Or they're not into politics. Or they're conservative and they just think that it was awesome that he did try to do a coup, and that's great. But there was no accountability. There was no barring him from office the first time that happened. And now he has nothing to lose. He could have lost the election. He could have. He could have lost it. And he was fucking terrified. Because if he had lost, the courts were going to lock him up. I bet if he had lost, he would have done jail time. He would have been in prison. Something. I mean, I don't have too much faith in it because, you know, there's a 2-tier justice system. There's one for the rich and the powerful, and then there's one for us fucking peasants, where we get to do life in prison for smoking a joint in our car if you're in Wyoming, and then some guy can do an insurrection about the government, you know, insurrection against the whole government and refuse to give up power, and he gets to just walk away free. And guess what? Real fucking democracies out there, go look around the world and look at real fucking democracies. They're not afraid to lock up political figureheads. When they do illegal shit, they lock them up. Because they don't fuck around with that shit. But here, it's a different fucking story. If you're rich and you're powerful, you get away with everything. So, that was our chance. To hold him accountable was our responsibility, and it didn't happen. And I said this before. I don't think I said it on the channel, but I did think this. That, like, if after the insurrection, if he doesn't do jail time, law and order means nothing here in this country. It means nothing. It's a joke. It's a goddamn farce. It's a fucking fiction. It's false. It's falsifiable. It's gone. It's not a thing. It's fantasy land. It's La La Land, okay? It's not a thing. Because all of the principles that we say that we, stand for, that we fight for, people died for our freedoms. And for America, the land of the free. Everyone's equal, man. No, not true. All these ideals that we always fucking spout, it's such bullshit. Such fucking bullshit. It always has been. So I'm terrified, man. I'm terrified. I'm terrified for trans people. I'm terrified for immigrants. And I don't know how I should be. Like, I don't want to get locked up. I don't want to get, thrown into the fucking gulag because of some fascist motherfucker. But maybe I have to. Maybe we should. We'll see how bad things get. And it's happening fast. So you may or may not hear an update from me because maybe I'll be in a fucking gulag by then. But this video is long enough, so I'm sorry for the long rant, but I just had to say something. So Godspeed, everybody. I'm so sorry that it came to this. We don't deserve this, But hopefully we can get through it. There's been narcissistic leaders in the past. Nero or whatever his name is, from Rome? Fucking yeah, I believe it was. I think it was Nero from the Roman Empire. He was a narcissist. He was power hungry. He's a dictator. But, time heals all wounds, and he died, and people moved on. And one day we're going to get through this too. Whether it's 4 years or 8 years or 10 years, this can't last forever. I just hope that people are going to wake up and resist and defy and just don't take it fucking lying down, man. Just don't take it lying down. Just all hands on deck, dumpster fire. 5 o'clock alarm. What was it called? 5 alarm fire going on right now. So buckle up, man. We're gonna have a long 4 years ahead of us. Okay, this has been Solomon from the Progressive West, signing off.